Welcome everybody to the Anti-Think Tank. Been a fucking while.
It's been a minute, but we've been busy watching the movie Sinners.
Yep. Probably, we're going to be breaking down this review into two sections. Non-spoiler at the start, which we'll give our ratings in, so you don't have to worry about going through the spoilers to get there. And then a spoiler section at the end of it, that if you haven't watched the movie, I would recommend skipping, because there is some really, really good stuff here. The plot is very, very well made. The writing for a lot of the characters is superb, especially the two lead roles played by Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. With the plot is also very, very well connected to the setting and the time period.
Yeah. It is one of the best pieces of historical fiction that I've seen in quite some time, especially considering the subgenre of horror. I've seen a couple of reviewers online stating that it isn't horror.
It is definitely, at least partially, a horror movie.
Yeah. It's horror in the same way that Aliens is, in that it has a heavy focus on action, while simultaneously having a huge amount of just genuinely terrifying, creature horror.
It's not like what you would think of in something like Annabelle or something similar to that, where it's like a bunch of like suspenseful music and then just jump scares. Nothing like that.
It's not like constantly trying to scare you, and the actual like scary stuff itself doesn't come in until like halfway through. But what it does is it's very keen on making sure that you are very connected to the characters before any of the more like high stress suspenseful stuff happens in the back half of the film. And in my opinion, that's the way to go, because there's nothing I hate more than watching a horror movie where like I'm waiting for the people to die.
Yeah, the first like 40% of the movie, and please YouTube, don't strike us for this. I'm just bringing this up because it's mentioned in the movie. The first it's set in 1930s Mississippi, and for people that don't know history, that wasn't a very good time in U.S. history, especially if you were not a white person. I think you guys agree with that.
Yeah.
And the first like 30-40% of the movie kind of sets up the characters and sets up some of the struggles of those characters in
very
Jim Crow
unique
era Mississippi.
In very unique ways for multiple characters of different ages. There's characters of different ages and experiences, and they are all dealing with different problems.
Yeah,
Bro really said like
Skew.
Yeah, what's it called? Like Smoke and Stack have very, very different experiences than some of the older characters in the show that did go through like the Civil War and such. And then even then there's it's a smaller gap, but it is still a gap between Smoke and Stack and Sammy.
Yes.
Because they went out and experienced World War I, and then
went to Chicago.
Al Capone, right, or something like that.
The villain in the movie, his name is Rennick. I'm not going to go into plot details until we get to the spoiler section, but he is maybe the best horror villain that we've seen in the last 20, maybe 25 years.
He is incredibly unique. And also a character that doesn't come in until a decent way into the movie. But when he is, you can tell that the movie is transitioning into a different genre. That makes sense. I would say, without getting into spoilers in this section, I think that the movies, if you're going into a horror movie wanting it to be scary, but also you care about the characters, and have it connect its plot to its themes and trying to tell you something in a very unique way. That's probably one of the best things about the movie, is that this is something that only works in film. It doesn't really work as a TV show or music or a book. It uses the film in an incredible way, specifically in a scene about halfway through the movie with a certain character playing their instrument. I think that scene only really works in a movie format.
Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about the movie is what Ian was talking about how the villain's not introduced until later on. The movie almost feels like two separate movies. The first 40% of the movie is almost like a historical drama, and then the last 50-60% is kind of your thriller horror side.
Yeah, it is definitely,
and it's funny, and it's funny all the way through.
And it's a character drama that has a ton of things to say. This isn't one of the things all right, I just want to make people feel something. This is there is like stated objectives to the storyline and to like the character interactions and everything else that is very, very well made. That slowly does warp into like an action thriller horror, like you said. By the time it gets into the action, gets into like the genuine horror that's going on. Unlike with like Friday the 13th or a lot of the other like slasher movies that have become popularized over the years, for every death on screen, you genuinely no.
Which is something that I feel like is very rare in a lot of horror movies, where you're going to it to see characters die. And this movie does such an incredible job of making you care about the characters. And like Ryan said, the things that Ryan Coogler is trying to say with this movie are themes and ideas that like you don't really see explored in very much of anything. Like this is a theme and an idea that can only be explored at this exact year, at this exact point in history with these exact characters.
Now, I will say, no spoilers on the deaths because we're not to that part yet. But I will say, there's a couple of deaths where you're kind of like, why? And I think you know which ones I'm talking about.
The use of the setting is so well done, because unlike a lot of films that I've seen, it does not, like, usually when it comes to like the South in this era, it's either like talking about only in an evil way or only in a positive way. The way this movie balances out like the good and the bad, like so this is an era in which evil things are being done to people for no reason, while simultaneously looking at it like, okay, but
Sorry, what did you say?
She's listening.
Just gonna start playing some folk music, and we're just all gonna
Like being in 1930s Mississippi and suddenly having Alexa say, "Hey homeboy, what's going on?" I'm like, okay.
Oh boys, I sure do love doing the Sinners review. Little did I know Alexa was listening.
Not for real.
like the way that it balances out the evil that is done in this era, and it makes sure to call attention to the like Jim Crow laws and all these terrible things that happen. Like, they deserve to be talked about and be like publicly shamed.
Yes.
While simultaneously saying that, like it wasn't all evil. There was sense of community. There was like great things that were happening, and that there was reason to love your home back then. But it had drastic problems. I never see in fiction a balanced approach to things. It's almost always all one way or all the other. You either like Birth of a Nation, or you are like any number of films that just paint the South as being completely and totally irredeemable.
Yeah, the movie is able to walk that line of like walking and chewing gum at the same time. Like, this is a very dark era, but there was also some interesting stuff, like you're talking about the sense of community and, you know, kind of just, I guess, simpler times, I guess is the best way to put it. There's a part where there's some characters buying drinks and they don't have enough actual U.S. currency, so they use this, what did they call them, like wooden nickels?
Yes.
Right? And that is currency they got while working on a plantation that is only valid in that area. And so it's kind of a little like subtle nod to like, you know, even though African Americans were free in the 30s, a lot of them were still getting screwed over because they were having to work for, you know,
people that still didn't respect them even though they were technically free. And that was, you were right, I never actually thought about that wooden nickels thing as much as you had.
Yeah, at the start of the movie, Sammy, it's not like a spoiler because like this is the very start of the movie.
Yeah.
Sammy is a sharecropper.
Yeah.
Like,
As was Cornbread, right?
yeah.
Okay.
really almost every character besides Smoke and Stack, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of forged their own path. But that's going to be about it for our spoiler-free review.
I'm personally going to give it a 9 out of 10. Just overall, I think that it was a very, very good movie. There are parts that make you like raise an eyebrow when it comes to certain plot points and such that I don't think got as fleshed out as I wanted them to. But by and large, it uses its time very, very well. The story is incredible. The characters are incredible. It is more than worth the price of admission. And I would recommend anybody to go out who hasn't seen it to hit the theaters right now, or if by the time you see this, it's some like streaming service for you to watch it and experience the movie.
I'm also going to give the movie a 9 out of 10. I think that this is the best thing that Ryan Coogler has ever made. I think that having him not shackled to, because Ryan Coogler is normally shackled to previous IP like Rocky and what's it called, the MCU. Here, seeing what he's able to do with just completely new and fresh ideas that he came up with himself and is able to just completely expand upon, I thought was incredible. And I've got to give the movie a 9 out of 10. Specifically, 2 scenes that happened about 20 minutes from each other, both relating to music, I thought elevated this movie from like an incredible piece to like a truly important piece that really, really means something. 9 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well. And it's funny to hear you talking about that with the soundtrack, because I kind of found that a little funny. Was it Coogler or Coogler? Coogler. Because when Coogler made Black Panther and the Creed movies, a lot of the selling point of both of those movies was the soundtrack. And this movie has a good soundtrack, but it's not really a selling point in my opinion. Like, the plot and the characters are way more of a selling point than the actual music. I will have to say I give it a 9 like them as well, because I have to subtract a point because there are a couple of plot holes and just some general areas that I wish they would have fleshed out more, that are kind of dropping it down a point for me. But other than that,
but a 9 out of 10 is nothing to scoff at.
5 is like how I rate to the average. Like, if you are a 5 out of 10, you are a painfully mediocre movie. So like 6 being above average, 7 being good, 8 being great, 9 like you are damn near perfect, and 10 is like I can't see how you improve it.
Exactly. Like this one, it's just a fantastic movie, and I really want to talk about what I love about it now.
All right,
so you guys ready?
Let's go to spoilers. Want to go first?
I would like to go first and just quickly mention that these. All right, so spoilers now. The scene where Samuel plays his guitar, and this is foreshadowed in the first scene of the movie with the narrator saying that there are people in multiple cultures who can play music that is so beautiful that it brings together spirits from the past and the future. And the movie, it says that at the beginning. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I can't wait to see how it explores that. And none of my wildest dreams would I have imagined the movie exploring it to such a wonderful degree by basically showcasing through Delta Slim, the old man. He tells Sammy in the movie, like, religion is something that was forced upon us by the people here, but this music is just an evolution of what we brought with us from Africa. And the movie then shows when Sammy's playing that song, I believe the song is called I Lied to You, it shows like that this is the middle point, and this music is just an evolution of what was created a long time ago, and you see spirits of people who created the music going forward, and then you get to Sammy, and then it goes even further to get to the electric guitar and turntables and rapping and hip-hop, and you feel the immensity, and it makes you think, that's something that can apply to any culture. That's something that can apply to multiple different cultures, in that, like, the music that is most popular, maybe with your people today, is something that was the product of sometimes hundreds or thousands of years of experimenting and putting it forward, and it connects us. It connects us going backwards and forwards, and I thought that was just an incredible scene, honestly.
Every single culture on the planet Earth has developed music of some form, and having a genuine plot point around the evolution of music and the connectivity of it through like time itself. There is like a slight bit of like shock to the scene, because it feels like some of the stuff feels a bit out of place with the tone of the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it definitely takes you by surprise.
It also gets really loud, like really loud in the theater for about 30 seconds.
It does.
Like there are aspects to the scene that I did think were slightly out of place, at least tonally for the rest of the movie. But by and large, the scene does an amazing job setting the stage, like just from a historicity standpoint of saying like, this led to this, which led to this, which led to this. And it does such an amazing job telling just what the movie wants to say.
This is why Sammy's my favorite character, is that I feel like his arc is so interesting, and that I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. A movie dissecting the idea that like religion itself might not be bad, but Sammy feels as if he did not choose religion and it's being forced upon him, and music is something that he wants to do. He feels like it makes him happier. And as we see in the post-credit scene and during the credits, it did make him happier, and it made him more fulfilled to play his music throughout his life.
Using like the connectivity of that scene, it plays so heavily into the character that is Rennick.
Oh my god.
His longing for community, and just to be able to connect that through line and be able to find his own roots is one of the most interesting things in like fiction of the last couple of decades, especially from like I'll go ahead and say like the type of villain that he is. Going into the movie, I thought it was like going to be Crossroads demons and such, but it turns out to be vampiric.
And so different. Like I what I was expecting for Remick to be was not what he was at all.
I thought he like even in his introduction scene where he basically just mauls that couple.
Yeah, those clan members, and I thought I've seen a couple people online say like they must have not paid attention, but I've seen people saying that like Remick was like racist, and that he was like that's not the character at all.
He was using false racism to basically get a, I guess,
Get an
past
invitation in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying, and he wanted an invitation in so that he could turn Sammy and then get the knowledge of how to play music so beautiful that he can talk to his like ancestors. And that have you guys ever seen a character like that?
No, like it is the way that the rules of the vampirism work in this are so interesting.
And Connor pointed out a lot more hive mind than vampire.
When you think of vampire in pop culture, you think of kind of like Count Dracula,
Yeah.
the cape, the, biting the neck, the hypnotic gaze thing that he uses on his thralls in the movie. And it's very, like, you can tell there is some inspiration there with certain things, but it's a very, I guess, almost like retcon version of a vampire.
Very, very, very different type of vampire because he doesn't bite the neck. He bites like a place where you can't see.
And one of the plot holes that I think that you were agreeing with me on this was we were trying to figure out, like, because there's like this hive mind thing, but it doesn't really explain. Okay, so what was the name of the one that ran away? She gets bitten like halfway through the movie, and she's acting completely. She even says like, "We're gonna kill all of you" at one point after Stack shoots her. And you can tell that she's like fully under the influence of the vampirism. Well,
But
at
then
one point,
when Annie dies,
it's like she snaps out of it and she runs away. But all the other characters stay normal until Sammy hits him with the guitar that has some silver in it. So it doesn't really explain, like, is it like a hive mind thing, or is it just like, it doesn't really explain what happens with that. And then you're also confused on why Smoke decided to just run away and why he was, it seemed like the brotherly bond.
You mean Stack?
Yeah, sorry, Stack decided to run away when Smoke spared his life, but earlier in the movie he was, just constantly trying to bite him, even when they were trying to reason with him. It doesn't really explain that, and that was a plot hole that I didn't.
I personally don't like. It doesn't annoy me too much. So the movie doesn't explain it, but I do think that it's making the point that there are that if something like overloads you emotionally, it can break you out of like Remick's trance. Because the two people we know of that managed to break out of it are like her when she saw Annie die, and Stack when he like realized that he was about to kill his brother, because he gets his teeth really close to Smoke and he's about to bite him, and then you see like the screen go like weird and start warbling, and
No. Remember what happens is Smoke flips him over and he's about to stab him with the stake, and then he spares him. That's when he kind of like.
Well, it was before that too though. Like he still, I think it was both of them, but definitely it was Smoke. I find the relationship between Smoke and Stack to be so interesting, because it's mentioned earlier in the movie that by Annie, I think, that as long as those people are still around, the vampires, their souls like can't leave their bodies, and that ties into Smoke and Stack so well, because like Smoke always saw himself as the protector. He saved Stack from their father when he was younger. I think the way that Stack says it, he was like, my dad was like beating on me, and then I went black, and then I woke up and like Smoke was already burying him. Was that what he said?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And I find that bond to be so interesting. And Smoke says, like, towards the end of the movie, when he realizes that Stack has been bitten, he's like, he was the one part of me, like, he was the one good part of me. And it makes the ending so tragic and beautiful. And seeing the scene where Smoke decides, him and Sammy decide to take very different paths. Smoke decides to stay on his, like, path of retribution and violence, goes after the clan, gets rid of all of them in a very John Wick-esque fight scene, a very epic final fight with his Tommy gun and his grenades, incredible looking stuff there. And then when he looks over and sees Annie and his child, like, it really hits home that feeling of spirituality the movie's going for.
I loved every single bit of like the 3 to 4 main characters' plot lines. Sammy, Smoke, Stack, and Remick.
And-
because I would consider Remick to be like almost a POV character. The scene of the Rocky Road to Dublin.
Oh my god. The Rocky Road to Dublin scene is incredible.
It's an absolute banger.
That's like the final song they
from-
sing before everything hits the fan, right?
Yeah, it's when Remick... That's the scene where
1,
you
2,
really...
3, 4, 5, up the air and turn
Down
down the Rocky Road
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
Dublin.
all the way to Dublin, whack for the litter.
Dance! In Mullingar that night I rested him so weary, out to by daylight his spirits bright, and there he took a drop of the pure, keep me heart from sinking, that's the paddy's cure whenever he's on for drinking. To see the lassie smile, laughing all the while, dance! Dance more!
Remick wants to connect with his ancestors. So he does it in an opposite way that Sammy does it. Sammy connects with his ancestors by playing music, right?
Yeah.
Remick connects with his ancestors by forcing all of these dead people to dance and sing the songs of his ancestors. And that's what makes them so interesting as protagonist and antagonist, because they want to feel belonging and sense of community, but Remick does it the wrong way. And he's obviously very sinister in the way that he goes about it, but you almost like in a small way feel like bad for him.
Yeah, and then there's that part where Sammy starts like reciting a Bible verse, and you're thinking the vampire's gonna be like, "Ew, no!" And then he just starts citing it word for word better than Sammy.
And he's like, these words were forced upon my people just like they were forced upon you. Like, what an incredible villain, honestly.
It's also very vague as to like which era he is from, whether it's from the time in which Ireland was taken over by Christianity and St. Patrick drove the pagans out, whether it's the era in which the English took over, or
He does
during
mention
the Troubles.
Romans. He does mention the Romans at one point.
He mentions the Romans?
Yes.
He does, and he offers her the white girl. He offers her those coins.
Gold coins, but gold coins were used like fairly commonly, but they did look sort of like denarii, but I wasn't sure if those were used in Ireland at the time.
It's a movie that's gonna really be great on repeat viewings. Like, I want to see it again.
I think it's gonna be on Max because it's a Warner Bros. It was a Warner Bros. Film, I believe. We
Wait.
should put it on Max, I believe.
Well, it's definitely one that I want to see again, because I think that as far as all the main cast goes, even the smaller characters, like even Cornbread, who gets like basically nothing to do, has like really funny stuff.
Like the part where he goes to use the restroom. And
Like when he goes to use the restroom and you hear his like stream of piss constantly stopping as Remix in the background going, "Cornbread, come on out." He's like, "Oof." Or when he comes up and he's like Smoke's like, "Why do you need an invitation in?" He's like, "'Cause we're all supposed to be nice to each other."
Can you at least give me my money? Like, hand me my money. You owe me money. Come on. Yeah!
Dude,
then they shoot him.
I love that part. Or when Cornbread like jumps up and he's like eating that one guy that they accidentally threw out who wasn't even bit.
The slow run up behind. This is, come on, there's some weird shit going on in here. Just open the door. There's Cornbread in the background doing a full-blown Terminator run, locked in his zone. And as soon as they open the doors,
Dude, that was incredible. I loved all the characters. Like, I thought they were all so interesting and provided different perspectives. Like Delta Slim was also super funny, and his death scene where he like cuts a huge gash into his arm and gets all those vampires to like jump on him.
I don't like that scene. It was so redundant. I'm sorry, but like,
What?
Look, okay, they were already halfway up the stairs when he did it. All right, he didn't slow anyone down because Rennick got up there anyways.
But
he didn't have to cut himself. He could have just been a body shield. They were going for him anyways, right? Like, they could have handed him a pistol or a wooden stake,
No,
and he
no,
couldn't go.
you
didn't have to cut
disrespecting the memory of
himself.
Delta Slim, dude. Come
Just
on.
didn't, like I said, it was a stupid death. All right,
You
it
would've
was a
preferred-
stupid death.
I mean,
He
I
could have went
would've
down fighting. He could have went down fighting.
yeah, he's like, yeah,
What's he gonna do? He's an old man.
pistol and a stake. He probably could have taken out like at least 6, and it would have cost more time.
Okay, fine. But thematically, like his dialogue is all really good. The story he tells to Smokestack and Sammy in the car about like the nature of like black music, it's just great. I love all the characters. Annie too. We couldn't have done shit without Annie. She knew everything. She knew the garlic. She knew about Haints. Like she was on it.
The one part where she just basically takes pickled garlic and just throws it on one of them.
Oh yeah, I think it was Stack, wasn't it? When he busted out of the closet,
Yeah.
she just goes.
That was awesome.
I will say that was wild when we get introduced to Annie. All right, you know when they're in the store, like she just checked out those kids 30 seconds before, and then they just go straight to fucking like,
Dude,
like doors open, windows open.
it also didn't help. I've seen a lot of people say that like they thought that was his mother in that scene.
What?
But like you can
What?
find a lot of people online who were like, oh, like he was wrong for this. What are you talking about?
I mean, they were wrong for doing it so publicly. I will say that. Like,
But it was their last day alive. Let them out. Let them have fun.
They
bro.
didn't know it was the last. They thought there was going to be a party later that night with rooms and board.
like that would be like if you went and checked out at the gas station, right? And then like the moment you walk out, they just go straight to fucking like
But-
doors open, everything.
Okay, but
I think that's what we got about. Oh my god!
but I think that also like kind of feeds into like the fact that this movie is like genreless. This movie is a comedy, horror, historical epic,
Porn.
like porno. There's so much sex. There's an entire plot line about
Cunnilingus.
cunnilingus. Yeah, and
He
it's
found the button.
like it's good. Everything in this movie is good. My one slight complaint, I will say, the last 30 minutes, it was a little dark.
like the clan stuff.
No,
Like,
not
you
dark.
could not
like-
see.
Like literally, there were a few scenes where like the shot, like it was a little bit. I could use a little bit more lighting, but I could still see most of what was going on.
That was the other thing. The clan scene where she got him down is cool. I just think it would have been placed better. Like I feel like that before the vampire stuff would have been better because like the stakes are lower, right? Like it's like you're fighting vampires trying to save your brother and everything, and you know, then it just goes to killing normal racist people. You know,
Like
I just feel like it's kind of it was a little anticlimactic that was at the end when they had already beat the vampires. Like I think it would.
I'm just glad it's
more
in there.
sense to. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad it's in there. I just think it would have made more sense at the middle of the movie.
I think that in terms of ordering, it's fine. I just think that at the point where it starts to occur, it feels like the plot was like on a complete wind down. You were starting to get ready for just like go through like Sammy's life and all that stuff, and then it just transitions into the next scene.
And he's just pulling a Tommy gun out.
Yeah, and it just goes into into like an action movie for a little bit. Okay, I loved the scene, but like you said, it did feel slightly misplaced. But I don't think you could have ordered it any differently with the way that the plot went.
The trailer for the movie also made it imply that he was going to be gunning down vampires because, like, the trailer shows him with the Tommy gun in between cuts of like vampires and stuff. So the trailer makes it seem like that he's going to be like a vampire hunter with a Tommy gun.
well, to be fair, there like even with before the Tommy gun, like even in the scenes in the barn, like he was pulling it on those vampires constantly.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the movie a 9. I thought it was incredible. Like I could use a little bit more lighting in the last half, and I would have liked maybe 5, 6, or 7 more minutes with Remick. But the movie is basically like perfect for what it's going for, especially from the musical aspect.
Soundtrack wise, I don't think we've had a movie as good sounding as this in quite some time. Like
The
even
soundtrack is amazing.
Even musicals have been kind of shit with their like music performances. Like we both watched Joker too.
The last musical I watched was The Greatest Showman, and I kind of got tricked into that one because it had Hugh Jackman in it, and I thought it was going to be.
I watched The Greatest Showman 1,000 times over Joker 2. Like watching that's actually a good point. I think that looking at 2 huge movies that came out in the last like year or so, Joker 2 is a movie that feels like it was created. It does have a big point, but it's a movie that doesn't feel like anyone involved wanted to make it.
It also doesn't feel like anybody who made the movie understood the point that they were making.
Didn't they
Yes.
also like we have Lady Gaga in here and it's like okay.
Like, she also... I'm not here to talk about Joker 2. The point being that movie is a big budget movie that has a ton of stuff to say, but doesn't say it very well. Sinners has more to say than Joker 2 does, and is constantly doing it. And it's just, for a 2 hour and 20 minute movie, Sinners feels like it gets through like 5 hours of content.
Yeah, the movie feels longer than 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I loved it.
And it's not one of those it feels longer things. It's like this is a bad thing. It's one of those it feels longer, and I want more of it.
Yeah. Like I'm
Now,
not saying
granted,
a
I will
sequel.
say, yeah, I was about to say, I do not actually really want a sequel. You could maybe do something covering like what Stack and his girlfriend or wife had done after the events of the movie, or then maybe like do a prequel about like what Rimmick was up to with the Comanche.
I'd be even fine with like a 20-30 minute just extended version with like some cut scenes that maybe explain more of, you know, why Rennick was being chased.
I
Or
would love that. If when the movie comes out on like Blu-ray and it has like an extended edition that's like 3 hours, I would watch that immediately. So yeah.
Go watch the movie.